I say this all the time. We're never too old to learn, and life is a constant lesson. God is the teacher, and life is the classroom. And as much as you think you've graduated from one class or one course, there's another course that's coming around the bend that you're about to take or undertake.
Well, that's how you keep evolving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and you don't remain stagnant.
No.
Go ahead and put me on. I'll hug your body like I'm close. Cinch your waist to show the curves. Lift your bosom with some nerves and the assets you boast. Accentuate your sex appeal. I'll make your body seem unreal. Physically you're well.
So tell me, you mentioned your mother.
Yeah.
And she used to design her own clothes.
Yes.
And now you're a fashion designer. What does she think about all this and her baby?
My mom is amazing. I was blessed to have a mom who came here from Central America, Panama. She met my dad. He was in the Army, and they married there and moved here. I was born in North Carolina. And my mom always had an independent spirit. My parents separated when I was 2 years old. My mom made her way to New York, and luckily she had a support system of friends who were from her native country. What I loved about my mom in raising us, raising her children, she never sacrificed her own livelihood. Like, life still went on for her, and she made it seem like it was fun to us. Every Friday, it was customary, after a week's work, she would come in with fabric. She'd lay it out in the foyer. She'd set up her portable sewing machine, and she'd just cut on the floor. And she had a stand-up mirror, and she'd be pinning to her body. And me and my sisters were sitting there looking like, what the hell is she doing? And she's putting together this whole little nifty outfit. And by the time you're done, like 2 hours later, she has this fabulous outfit. She's all decked out, hair done. She's on the phone. She's like, I'm out the door. And she's like, okay, kids, take care of your sisters. I'll see you guys. I'll be back. And I was old enough to make sure that the house was taken care of. She made sure that food was prepared and everything. And we were kind of excited every Friday because we had the whole house to ourselves. So it was like, okay, perfect. We get to stay up till like the wee hours of the morning.
Bye, Mom.
Bye. So it was like really cool. But in watching that process, I was kind of intrigued at how is she putting together clothing. Fast forward years, many, many years later, and I'm in the military, and it's time for me to re-enlist. And through my entire term of the military, I went and bought a Kenmore machine because I remembered my mom had a Kenmore. Whenever I had liberty or break when I was in the Navy, I would always be on the machine trying to teach myself just basic stitching. I would read sewing magazines, and I would just keep practicing on my off time. And when it came time to re-enlist, the Navy was just like really like blown away. Then when I said, no, I think I'm going to have another career choice of mine, they were like, are you serious? At that time I had a top secret clearance working in telecommunications, and the process of having to go through that, they were just like...
And you and also them thought you were going to be career.
Right, they thought it was going to be a full-time career, but I had this itching feeling that I wanted to do something different. And I wanted to be my own person creatively. And I took what money I saved up, I downsized my apartment, I went and got a studio. I was in Norfolk, Virginia at the time. For any of you who know where Ward's Corner is, I was on Granby Street in one of the professional buildings. And I got a studio, bought a overlock machine, taught myself that in like 2 months. And I just started creating, and I started
you followed
attracting
your
clients.
vision,
Yeah.
and I think artists do that. There's something inside them that says this is the direction you're supposed to
Yes.
go. Even though everything else makes sense, you have to follow that.
Yes.
And
the creative
that's
passion.
hard. It's hard. It's brave.
It's
so
it's
brave.
hard and it's
Right.
brave, but the other thing is it really doesn't, there is no rationale behind the creative process.
But you gotta follow. It might not be totally clear.
It never makes sense. And my mom, the funny thing is that when I decided to do this, she was a bit apprehensive at first because you gotta understand, my mom comes from, though she was very progressive in how she raised us, she was still a traditionalist, and you go to work, you do a 9 to 5, you get it. There's a check at the end of that every Friday or every 2 weeks.
Well,
and to
you're her baby. Check. He's
right,
okay.
right, and but at the same time, to her, where was the guarantee for this? You
Right.
weren't,
Safety.
There was no safety net.
Right.
And when she started to see how much ground I was covering and how many people I was attracting to this new endeavor, she actually got on board. At the time when I moved to New York, leaving my studio, my mom said just a few words. I don't think Vogue is going to find you in Norfolk, Virginia. And that just haunted me. And I left everything behind. No thought of anything. I'm just like, well, I'm already in New York. I think I'm just going to stay. And I was panicking after 3 months. So my mom said, well, why don't you think about getting a job in the design industry? And I'm like, well, I don't have really any technical experience. It's just what I taught myself. I opened up this studio, and then I left the studio behind on a whim of what you said, and what am I going to do? And my mom said, have faith. God, you didn't get here on your own. You didn't make the decision on your own. And I didn't say those words to you on my own. And God wouldn't have brought you this far to see you fail. And at the time, I was always a spiritual. I'm still spiritual. I acknowledge that there's something bigger. God is everything. But I still was like, oh my God, like I have to rely on faith. Like, how is this going to work? And there was an ad in the newspaper for a design assistant at an outerwear company on 7th Avenue. My mom said, go in and do it. She said, we're going to fast. And we did a day's fast. And she said, you're going to go out there and you're going to get it. And I went. I had this makeshift portfolio. And every time I think about this experience, I try not to cry because I was just a mess trying to pull it together. And I walk into this immaculate showroom filled with racks of leather jackets and outerwear, and it's in the heart of 7th Avenue, and I'm like intimidated because I see all of these other applicants who are applying for the job with big portfolios from Parsons, FIT,
All dressed in black,
all
with their
dressed,
ponytail.
just looking the part,
Glasses.
and I'm just
Out of the box.
out of the box. And there was this redhead from Michigan who speaks very fast. She's just like spitting things at me, and I seem to understand everything that she's saying. And she asks me about my experience. I tell her I didn't go to school. I taught myself. I had a design studio in Norfolk, Virginia. I showed her a couple of my sketches and this makeshift portfolio that I put together. And I got to tell you, I was a complete mess. And she said, well, I got to admit, you don't have a lot of experience. She says, I love your energy. I love your enthusiasm, and I love your vibe. She says, but this job does require some design experience. I have to see some other applicants. I'll call you and let you know if you got the job. And so I get on the train to go back home to my mom's place, and I got my tail between my legs. And I'm like, oh my God, I felt like crap. And so my mom is sitting in her living room. I walked in, and she's reading her daily word. And she pulls down her glasses, she looks up, and she goes, why do you look like you just came out of hell? And I said, well, I just did the interview. And she goes, well, why do you look like that? How did you do? And I go, I don't know. I think, honestly, I don't think I got it. And she goes, again, I don't understand. How do you go to these things and not have faith? You're supposed to put God before you. Did you ask him to sit with you in the interview? And I said, I did everything you asked me to do, but I don't think I got it. She goes, well, you need to believe a little bit more. She just called and said you got the job.
Aw, that's great.
And for 3 years, I worked at Andrew Mark. I got a load of experience. The things that I probably would not have learned on my own, I learned at Andrew Mark Outerwear. And I have to say thank you to Thea Anderson for giving me that shot. She was truly, she busted my tail. It was balls to the wall, and she pushed me. Within a year's time, I was then designing men's leather under her tutelage. And then on the second year, she departed to go work for a competitor, and she made sure that I was instilled as the men's leather designer. And I did that for about a year, and then again, that itching feeling in my stomach started to manifest again. And all I kept hearing was, you're working for someone else who's making a ton of money, you're making crumbs off the plate, and you can do this for yourself. So I decided, again, to leave and start my own thing.